Tina Stitches. Welcome to my channel. This is a channel about cross stitch and very little else. So, welcome. I hope you enjoy what you see. And I think somebody's coming in the door. So this is a channel about cross stitch. I do a few other crafts, hobbies, but mostly cross stitch or cross stitch related. Embroidery, well, very little knitting or crochet. I don't think I've even shown anything that I've knit or crocheted. I haven't picked up a crochet hook in a long time. So, my husband's going to be in and out of the house. And my son is upstairs. The nephew is expected back any minute now. And my oldest son is bringing him and going to steal a game. Let me tell you, if you're into board games, there's this one called Villainous. It's a Disney brand game, but it is a really good game. And these are my two grown-up sons that they're stealing the game almost every weekend now to play it with their friends. So, anyways, I know you're here for stitching, so let's get on with the stitching. It's been a week since my last video, and I've pretty much only worked on 3 projects. I started a 4th one last night, mostly because I'm in the magazine monthly challenge group on Facebook. And I've opted for both the acrostics, which is lion and lamb. There's no rules to how many hours or how many stitches you have to put in. It's up to you. And I didn't have to pick both. I did. So I've finished I and N in lion, A and B in lamb. So I had L for both of them left, O and M. The O, I picked Hatter by Omri Koresh, and the M, I picked Mandala. And for the L's, on both of them, I picked Lettres de GiGi. Just making sure I have my pattern here. I do. And so I worked only on the L. I wanted to get 2 large motifs done. One large motif per acrostic. Normally what I do is I say I want to do 3 days per project per letter. It worked out to almost the same thing for these motifs. Words don't work today. So, yeah. You want to see what I worked on. I did a lot of black stitching. And this is one of them that required a lot of black because that's the color I chose to stitch it in. Here is the pattern cover, and even though there's glare, there's not much to see here. You can barely make out what the pattern is. This is Les Belles Lettres de GiGi T, a GGR creation. And I bought it sight unseen because if you look this up online, really there's just 4 blurred out circles in the corners and you can't make it out. There is perhaps a picture of somebody who's like somebody's already stitched piece. Get it? No. So there might be a picture that somebody else has stitched in a different colorway than gray on gray, but I haven't found it yet. Mine is not gray on gray. Mine is pink, black on pink, because I really wanted to do this color combination. I dyed this fabric myself. This is 35 count Edinburgh linen. And here's where it was when you last saw it. And here it is now. When you last saw it, I had probably that done and some of the tea. Unicorn, windmill, and part of this, there's a fancy thing there, motif. So that's where it's at now. This is stitched 2/2 anchor black on fabric I dyed myself. I used Rit liquid. It was not petal pink, it was the other one. If you need to know, my last video I showed the bottles. So it's very pink. And it'll be pretty big. Janine, Buddy, is stitching along, and she is stitching hers on 40 count linen with navy blue silk. And she gave me the size of it. Let me just look up my message here. And I will remember to insert her picture. 40 count linen with Gutermann silk thread, which is on a thread reel just like 100-3 silk. Using a number 10 short beading needle to stitch. I'm not exactly sure what a number 10 short needle looks like, but here's her progress. The next project that I'm going to show you is my lunchtime project. Because really for the magazine monthly challenge, that's all I worked on, was L. Did work on Hatter a little bit, and I will show you that. But this is a lunchtime project. Realist Kit, the Scornu Dawn. Here's where it was when you last saw it. And here it is now. So I've added the colors into the corner. And I'm working my way to the center over here with the greens and the darker fuchsias. This is stitched 1/1 full cross on 25 count Zweigart linen. Not linen, it's even weave. Zweigart fabric. Came with the kit. Lugana. So there's that. And now for Hatter. Hatter by Omri Kresh, also on 25 count fabric, but this I am stitching 2/1 tent, not tent, half stitch, because I'm not going all the way across the back for a proper continental tent stitch. Here's where it was when you last saw it. And here it is now. So mainly I worked on the cup. Right there. One thing that I wanted to point out was in my last video that featured this, I forgot to mention that when I was, because I'm using Pattern Keeper now, I had a lot of threads parked over here. So many threads, in fact, that when I picked it up and was working off of Pattern Keeper, I didn't have to pull out the thread guards because everything I stitched in here was parked. So I was very, it was very nice to get those threads done and out of the way because they were quite crowded, and it was also nice not to have to dig through the threads and thread a new needle. Having said that though, I'm still loving this and very happy to get back to it. This has had one night of work. I want to work on it for 2 more evenings before I put it away again because goals. And I'm not working on it tonight. I was gonna, but today is the first day of spring, which means I should change my pattern project out for my seasonal project. I will get to that in a minute. That's plans. So, the other project that I worked on, my morning project, the 30 minutes a day or whatever I can get into it project, I am referring to Beloved by Heaven and Earth. I've been working on this project for a very long time. I don't see it ending anytime soon. I am about 60-something% done. I was explaining in my last video that I was going to try to focus on black because the black is the main color. Obviously, there's like, what is there? There's 27 colors. One of them is black. And I noticed that I had 27-something thousand stitches left to do. So I thought, well, if I knock out some black, get that number down. So all week, that's all I stitched, was the black. Here's where it was when you last saw it. And here it is now. I keep meaning to take this out of the frame to show you the whole thing, but I kind of threw this video together in a rush. So, no big reveal. But here's where it's at. And I worked on the black here, here, and over here. And it's pretty close to 1,000 stitches because now my black stitch count is just over 26,000. And I really did just only work on black. And I was going to work on other colors today, being Saturday. I don't think I mentioned the day. First day of spring. It is Saturday, March the 20th. So I was going to work on other colors, but I was engrossed in the stitching at the cabin Flosstube video, so I just went, black, just keep going. So that's what I did. And you can see the outlines of her hand on his shoulder. It's looking really good. I think I'm going to continue working on the black. And I don't know if I'm going to roll it up now and continue working on black, or just go back across and fill in the color. I don't know. Decisions. It's whatever I feel like doing. That's what I worked on. Not a whole lot. Big pieces of progress. Lots of black stitching. And I think I mentioned last week that working on this is, I don't know if I said it's the first time that I've worked on 35 count or high count. I know my count of fabric is generally 28 to 32, mostly because that's what most of the patterns that I do are Mirabilia or similar. Teresa Wentzler's, well, in the past, I only have one on the go right now, but Mirabilia, Nor Corbett, anything that requires beads, and that you are limited on size, fabric count. So that's one of the main reasons, aside from budget. Originally, when I started stitching 25 years ago, my budget was very limited, which meant that I was a lot of the time stitching on, obviously, I started on Ada. I started on stamped, did 2 kits that were stamped. Then I moved to Ada, and then from there I moved to 28 count Monaco. because that's what Walmart sold. And that's where I got some of the kits. I got Teresa Winsler's Peacock Tapestry. I'll hold this so you can enjoy it. Peacock Tapestry for $9 for the whole kit. And I stitched it. I showed it a couple years ago now. In one of my videos I showed it. So, but that's the reason why I stitched on 28 or 32 count. Now, I've leaned over towards the 32 count linen, Belfast linen, just because that's what I like now. But now I do like the really high count. Well, this is 35. I think the permanent kit is 40. Might be 35. But I do like this fabric. And a viewer had said that she was surprised that that was my first time, and that the Just Nans, she was surprised because she thought that with all my Just Nans that they were done on the higher count, and the ones that I've done are not. I've done them on 28 or 32 count. And again, beads. I don't know. I haven't actually looked at all of my Just Nan kits to see if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that they're a 32 count. But I did go through my previous finishes and look at this one because I was like, no, I bet you that one is not 32 count. And it's not. And I really do need to fully finish this. Letters from Mom. I did it on the called for 36 count Legacy Edinburgh linen. So Brenda, you're right. That was not my first time stitching on high count. This could be my first time stitching on high count. And that would probably be why I didn't like the 2/2 on this fabric, because it was too bulky. The one thread was just the right coverage. And I did go with the 2 on the border to give it that oomph. But yes, I still need to finish this. This was finished last June, I believe, and we were in lockdown. So I haven't been to a fabric store of any kind to pick up fabric. And I keep thinking I could just get it online. And I probably should just do that. Soon. Maybe we'll get it finished before it turns 1. Fully finished before it turns 1 finished. You know what I mean. I finished it in June-ish. I should have it fully finished before June-ish. So, I showed you all my whips. I showed you that plans. I have 2 things that are fighting for my attention right now. One of them is my mandala by Chatelaine, Royal Tudor mandala. Here's what it's supposed to look like. And here's where it's at. And I really want to work on it. But today's the first day of spring, and I'm supposed to be working on this because I need to give it more attention. And I said I was going to work on it on the days of the season switchovers. What do you call that? Solstice. Anyways, Dressmaker's Daughter by Mirabilia. I could switch this in for my M on Lamb, but I really want to work on my Royal Tudor mandala as well. There are 11 days left in March, so I should be able to work on both. Should. I am going to be working on autumn because it's spring here, which means it's fall in Australia, and I'm stitching this in the Australian seasons because the whole Aussie Flosstubers were doing the Queens of the Seasons by Mirabilia in the seasons of Australia. It's a whole thing. And this is where it's at. Summer did not get the attention it deserved. That's as far as I got on summer. And it really is a good amount of progress, but it should have been more. And this is autumn. This is being stitched on 32 count Belfast linen by Extra Designs in the colorway something. It's in here. Sweet Lavender. It's beautiful. Beautiful. I just need to work on it more. Everything is so beautiful. So I am going to put this in a Q-snap today. Royal Tudor mandala is already in a Q-snap. Pulled it up very carefully inside here. That's the Q-snap. Arms, clamps. It's not fully clamped in. I'm going to meet these goals. I did set goals for these for the year, and I really need to meet them and stop starting new stuff, but that's not going to happen. So those two are fighting for my attention, and I will work on one of them for sure. I'm going to work on the Hatter for a little bit more. I really need to work on my English roses. Yeah, there's so many things I want to work on. So that's my plans. I have no haul. I just want to say congratulations to Kim and Sarah for their birth of the daughter-in-law / sister-in-law's baby. I think I did say congratulations on their last video, and I meant to bring me some pictures, but I didn't. Here's a little family history story. Getting a little personal here, so if you don't want to hear birthing stories, you don't want to hear this. So their daughter-in-law, the baby was born 8 weeks early. I'm pretty sure it was traumatic. Mom had to have a cesarean, but I think everybody's fine. You can go and check out their channel to find out more about that. I did want to explain about my experience. My oldest son is now 28 years old and very healthy, and but he was born also 8 weeks early. He was what ended up happening was I was young and stupid. I smoked during my pregnancy. The way I looked at it was my mom smoked and all her babies were healthy and the doctors don't know what they're talking about. Like I said, young and stupid. So at 32 weeks, we had just moved into a house. It was just my husband and I, and he was on his way to work. I had popped into the bathroom, came out and said, "There's blood." And we immediately went to the clinic, 20-minute drive away. And everything felt fine. Doctor said, he asked all the questions, did all the blood pressure and everything. And he had to do a pelvic exam. And that's when we found out I was 2 centimeters dilated. He said, "You're not feeling anything?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "You're like 4 hours in labor." I'm like, "Oh." So drove over to the hospital, and from there was flown to the nearest hospital that was capable of dealing with this kind of a premature birth. And they were able to stop the labor, but I was still required to stay because the risk. And so I was booked into a room, and my husband came home. We flew there. It's a 4 or 5 hour drive home. And he left instructions that if anything was to happen with the nurses, call me. This is my number, this is my parents' number, etc. And this is like days. He was there for a couple days, then came home. And I think 2 days later, the problem was that I had started to leak amniotic fluid. So they couldn't let me leave. I had to stay no matter what. So I stayed. He went home. A day or two later, I went into labor, active labor that I felt. And he was not there. And I got a shot of something for the pain and it knocked me out. I told the nurse, call my husband and all of that stuff. And I woke up the next morning. He wasn't there. And I rang for the nurse, and I'm in pain, and the nurse came, the doctors came, and they put me in a wheelchair, and then I was rolled over from maternity ward over to labor ward. I had to get from the wheelchair onto a bed, and then they did the exam, and then they said, "Oh, you're ready to give birth." Like, he's right there. I had to get off of that bed onto a gurney, get rolled over to the delivery ward, get off of the gurney onto a delivery bed, and then he was born. And he was taken away. He was 8 weeks early, but he was a healthy weight. They said he was a very good weight for his gestational age. He was 4 pounds, 3.5 ounces. Here's what he looked like. And ever since then, because I was locked in a hospital for 4 days, I'm waiting for my husband to show up. And this was before we had cell phones, of course. And he's not showing up, and I'm just waiting, thinking he's on the road. 10 o'clock. Now, he was born about 6 in the morning. 10 o'clock comes around, and he calls to check on me. And I said, well, didn't you hear? And he's like, what? And I said, you have a son. He immediately got in the car and tried to make his way over there. Nobody called him. Nobody told him. We were so mad at the hospital. So, being that he was 4 pounds, 3 ounces, we didn't know what to expect, but everything went well. He stayed in an incubator for about 2 weeks. He didn't have oxygen, which was a good thing. And yeah, he was born March 1st, and we were allowed to go home St. Patrick's Day. Let me tell you, every time we walk the halls of that hospital, my husband is looking for that nurse. I'm like, that's not the nurse. So anyways, that's my story of my premature baby. And I know my story is very different from everybody else's, and I just, want to give out a ray of sunshine, hope, all that stuff for little baby Juniper. So, I've rambled on long enough. Yeah, I'll show some pictures of baby one and where he is now. He's gonna hate me. And I know his friend is watching. He might not know this story, so there you go. And I've always told them, don't smoke. And because I was locked up for 4 days in the hospital, my husband went outside for a smoke. He asked me if I wanted one. I said no. I stopped smoking. Since then, I haven't had a cigarette. And now I wonder why people pick up smoking. I did it, but now you know so much. It boggles my mind. Anyways, I'm going to take off now. I've rambled on long enough, and yeah, this is going to be interesting to upload, so like always, take care of each other, be kind, happy stitching.